few weeks ago, I set off on a cycle from London to my home in the south of France, and that is Tillac. When I finished that cycle, I kind of said I'd put together a list of what I found were the best pieces of kit to use when you're doing like a long distance touring ride adventure. So when I do one of these adventures, to me one of the big drivers is how far I can go in a day, how many kilometers I cover, and you know, depending on the terrain and the weather and all that kind of thing, just to see how just the distance you can go on a bike. So a lot of the kit I use is kind of geared towards that. I go for lightweight, I go for compact. I wear kind of the clothing you would wear for probably more road cycling than people who are slower on the kind of touring cycle adventure. My first one was when I got back from running the Americas. My sister had taken my bike from London to Edinburgh, so I went up to Edinburgh, put a tent on the back and cycled it back to London. The second one was Atlantic to Andes, which was a 3,700 kilometer cycle from Sao Paulo airport to La Paz across the Andes. The third one was kind of getting around the UK for meetings and stuff. That was back earlier this year, and that was just about over 500 miles. And then this one obviously was another 900. The reason there has been a little bit of a delay, this is Tillac by the way, this is where I live. A little bit of a delay in this video is because I've always dreamed of having a kit room, somewhere where I can lay out all my stuff and truly talk about it. And until I moved here, that hasn't been possible. Over the last few weeks, I have been tirelessly working and trying to create a space where I can do kit videos and talk about the stuff I use. And that is going to be up here, at the top of my house, where I can have everything I need for an adventure in one place. And this is where today's video is going to take place. This is the kit that I have kind of condensed down over a few different cycles, what I would take if I wanted to efficiently get from one place to another touring. Just before we delve into looking at that stuff, just wanted to quickly blast from the past. This is my Cheetah, which I use for running the Americas. It's been stuck in a storage unit for the last 2 years, and I unwrapped it the other day and I did get quite emotional about seeing it all back together. And so this here is the Genesis Croix de Fer 2018. I picked this one up in Cycle Surgery. Excellent piece of kit, really enjoyed riding it. It kind of does everything you need the bike to do, and the great thing about it is people know this bike. I was in Sant'Emilio and standing outside a little wine shop, and like people were going, oh, is that a Croix de Fer? And you know, there's a lovely little community I think around this bike of people who just love it. This one's called Phil. Very obvious, very simple naming going here, but Genesis, Phil Collins, Phil. I've put mud guards on at the front and on the back. You know, quite a lot of the cycling I do ends up off-road, and it can rain a lot, and it just makes sense. It costs very little, keeps your kit clean, and okay, they don't look as cool, but it works. Bike, I've got a back pannier rack, which allows me to add on panniers should I need it. Again, it doesn't weigh very much to have it, and it just gives you that convenience if you want to bulk out what you're taking. I went for 3 different water bottles. I actually don't use this one. This is just kind of like a backup. And then I have these 2 here. This was a really good suggestion from one of the guys at Cycle Surgery, because it is an adaptable water bottle thing. So you can extend this out and then have bigger bottles. So that just means you can carry more than just a water bottle. Lovely bright pink lock. Just slips effortlessly into there. Really nice, compact, and out of the way. This, which is the Land Rover Explore bike mount, which we will touch on a bit later. So once you've bought your bike, then you have to think about the bags you're going to put on it, because that determines how much stuff you can take. This is the first time I'd used these bags. This is an Ortlieb waterproof bag that goes on to the back, on the back of the saddle, like that. And this carries, I think it's about 16 litres of stuff. Then there's this one on the front, again, Ortlieb waterproof. This one goes onto here, kind of like that, and then is openable from both ends. Because you have the pannier rack here, you can attach another bag on top of it using bungee cords or whatever. So you have the ability just to extend a little bit while you're doing it, but still keeping your bike light. Have eating. I always like to have a very small, compact eating system for cooking and everything. So what I tend to do is get something like this. This is the GSI little stove, well, no, pot. Comes out of a little packet like that and turns into a kind of cup as well. It's got a drinking thing on it. The great thing about this is you can fit a gas canister inside it. And then you have this, which is the Rubens Pocket Rocket little cooking stove, which screws onto the top of the gas. And then this sits straight on top. In terms of what I use to eat is normally really basic stuff. I tend to go with what you can find along the side of the road, not dead stuff like restaurants and shops. Pick up as you go, then you have to carry less. But I always keep some 3-minute noodles and some little packets of porridge. And the reason I go for stuff like that is because you just need to add hot water, which means nothing gets too dirty, which means less washing up to do. When I am washing up, I use kind of one of these all-purpose biodegradable soaps. And then I have my bowl and a spork. I just go for like the £2 cheapos from Cotswold Outdoor. And then I have a little cup which pops up like that. Nice and easy. On to sleeping, I use a tent. There are those who like bivvies and there are those who like tents. I'm a tent person. I like to be able to sit up. I like to have a little bit of privacy, and if it rains and all that, it's just easier. And the weight difference between a bivvy, a good bivvy, and a good single sleeping, a good tent is really negligible. So I just like to have that ability to actually have some privacy. It's just how I've always rolled. Then I have a Thermarest. This is the Neo Air, and this is my favourite sleeping bag. It is the Force 10 Catalyst 250. It's really lightweight, it's really comfortable, and if it gets a little bit cold at night, I've got a sleeping bag liner. I'm always using power. I've got my phone, I've got my GoPro and stuff like that, so I always need to think about power. So I take a Power Gorilla, which is from Power Traveler, and then I have the Falcon 21, which is this solar panel which pumps out a huge amount of power and can charge your phones and recharge the battery. Just for aesthetics, I haven't got the wires here, but the wires don't take up that much space. Then I have a GoPro just to record everything. I use the Session 5. I am thinking about upgrading to something new, but at the moment that's what I can afford. I have a Land Rover Explore. The reason I like this phone is because it's waterproof, it's durable, it's got a massive battery life. You can drop it and it still works. It's just having a phone that can be thrown around, tossed around, relied upon. It just makes life easier. And it comes, as I said, it's got a bike mount, so you just slip the phone into here, stick it on the front, and you've got all your directions there when you need them. And just having that peace of mind you're not going to break your phone helps. It also comes with an adventure pack, which doubles the battery almost, and adds a better GPS frequency. So all in all, it just does so much stuff. You can even whack a couple of movies on it, so you've got the ability to chill, read a book, or watch something in the evening. Last but not least, there is the toolkits and that kind of stuff. So you obviously got your pump with you, spokes. I keep forgetting to take spokes with me, but spokes are really important. I broke a spoke on the last adventure. Then I have a little toolkit here, which is chain oil and all the little tools you need to change anything, to fix any punctures, all that kind of stuff. And then I have lights. And that is essentially everything I use on one of these ventures. The only thing I would add is I always carry a selection of overboard waterproof bags. I can put everything into the bags, and then everything is waterproof. Everything is easily to get out. You know where the cooking stuff is, you know where your sleeping stuff is and all that. So packing sensibly is really important. So now that I've talked about everything that is here, I'm going to now put it onto the bike, and then you can see what it looks like when it's all done. And here we have the bike with all the main kit on. This is a bit like that because it doesn't have the clothes in yet, but here we have everything. And I tend to do sleeping up front, so everything here is sleeping related, and then everything here is kind of kitchen, repairs, clothes, and that is that. Good to go. That is what I would use if I was going on a cycle of any distance over over a night. So that will give you everything you need. Hope that's been helpful. I will put all the links below to every single thing that I have got on here that I can find a link for. Anything I can't find a link for, I will find an alternative and put a link to that instead. But this is the kit I would use, trying to be as efficient as possible.